Can I please have a motion to reconvene public meeting?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Can we now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence in honor of the Plain Edge High School senior and North Babylon Middle School student, as well as our servicemen and women. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the district clerk please call the roll?
Miss Iannatelli,
Present.
Mrs. DiLorenzo,
Present.
Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno, Dr. Centermore,
Present.
Mr. Murphy,
Present.
Mr. Kolekipar,
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Papi,
Present.
and Mr. Hauser.
Can I please have a motion to accept the minutes of the December 12th, 2023 meeting?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Up next, we have a budget presentation, a review of the 2024-25 budget process by Mr. Hauser.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Murphy. We're going to take a look at the budget calendar. We'll take a look at the New York State Office of Real Property Services and something called the tax base growth factor. We'll also take a look at the New York State Office of the State Controller. They are about to issue, hopefully very shortly, what's called the allowable levy growth factor. And then we have the New York State Governor, her executive state budget, which should be coming out with state aid numbers for school districts, hopefully by the end of January. And then the last item will be the governor and the New York State Legislature's final budget with the final state aid school numbers. And that will hopefully be out by the end of March. So in terms of the budget calendar, and I also want everyone to know this presentation, as well as all the other future budget presentations, will be available on the district's website. Someone last year had suggested that we have these presentations up on the website before the budget meeting so that they can download documents, review them. So we will do that as we move forward. We'll have them up on the website before the meeting. So starting in the beginning of January, the superintendent and the cabinet, we've started to review the budget development guidelines. We expect to have those guidelines available for presentation at the following board meeting on January 23rd. This week, we started to meet with the individual school building principals as well as the department heads to review their individual budgets. The third line there is tonight's budget presentation. And then going forward, at each of the next board meetings, we will have various school budget presentations on different topics. For the most part, you'll see, though, we will be reviewing the proposed revenue and the proposed expenditure budgets at least 3 times in public before the final budget is presented for adoption all the way down on April 16th. Okay, and then on May 14th, we have a budget hearing, and then the subsequent day, May 15th, we have the actual budget vote along with the school board election. Okay, as I mentioned, I was just going to touch base quickly. These are complicated topics, so I don't want to delve into them too much tonight. The New York State Office of Real Property Service, that's one of the areas that particular division in New York State looks at is the assessed valuations of school districts. For the most part, what homes are assessed at, not necessarily what they're worth, but what they're assessed at in the school district. And each year, they assign what's called a tax base growth factor to every single school district in New York State. So I gave a sample up here of some districts in Nassau and other districts in Suffolk County. The districts that are highlighted in pink, you may notice that those are districts that are out east, mainly on the South Fork, what's referred to as the Hamptons. They tend to have a higher tax-based growth factor, mainly because their assessed valuations are significantly higher and they tend to go up much more than districts such as ours. The districts in green in Suffolk County are some of the lowest tax base growth factor increases. So for example, all the way over on the right, if you see the Three Village School District at 1.00040 there, they have absolutely no change last year to this year in their assessed valuations as a school district as a whole. So pretty interesting. These numbers are going to ultimately correlate into what's called the tax cap. So, and I'll get into that in a second. But just highlighting Connecticut in the middle at the bottom there in yellow, we were assigned a number of 1.0046. So higher mathematics here, that 0.0046 translates into about 0.46% or about 0.5%. So when we hear this number of the 2% tax cap, we're going to be taking 2% plus 0.5%. And that's for the most part, very, very simplified, the amount of money that this district is allowed to collect in addition to what we collected last year. So we're only allowed to collect 2.5% more. Very basic. There's some exceptions to that, some exclusions that will more than likely bring that number a little bit higher. But just to keep it simple, that's the direction we're going in here. So just to give everyone a brief overview, what's going on to the west and to the east of us. The next number, like I said, this is all around that property tax cap, which I believe we're in our 13th school year under this tax cap. There's a number called the allowable levy growth factor. And for the most part, this is either the consumer price index or 2%, whichever is higher. I'm sorry, whichever, it cannot exceed 2%. So when I realize some of these numbers are small and you might not be able to see them, but for the most part, all the way from 2022, inflation has been running more than 2%. Okay, the far right column under 2024, you can see that the number up at the top is 6.26 is inflation. It's been coming down 5.43, 5.06, and the latest 4.37. However, we are only allowed to go up to 2%. So regardless of what the CPI is, whether it be a New York regional number or a national number, we have to abide by that 2%. So when I talk about fiscal climate and things that the district is up against, you can see that there is the assessed valuation component, and then there's this allowable levy growth factor, which kind of ties into the CPI. Okay. And then the last piece I just want to show you is state aid. So when we hear that number, state aid, we are really dependent upon the governor's office and the state legislature to tell us how much money they are going to be allocating to us to operate in the following school year. What I put up here, and I highlighted it in yellow, is our current school year, the 2023-24 state aid numbers. We are waiting for the governor to release her initial numbers, which will be hopefully by the end of this month. We'll have an idea of where we're going for the following school year. But for the most part, if I added them up correctly, all of the lines of state aid that have been assigned a dollar figure, so not the ones in zero. When we talk about state aid, there are 11 different components, okay? All the way from the top one, which is the biggest one, and tends to be the one we hear about the most, which is foundation aid. That makes up about 63% of our total aid, all the way down to different aids for pre-kindergarten, BOCES, high-cost excessive aid, which would really be for students with special needs. And you can see all the different categories. They total that $56,216,000 number. And like I said, this is the current school year. So the prior school year to this current school year, we only realized an increase in state aid of about $151,000. Okay, that's on a $56 million state aid allotment, so it's very, very small. When people talk about foundation aid, that aid went up over $1 million, but that's because there's something called the safe harbor provision, where even though a district's aid, foundation aid might be affected negatively, you're still guaranteed a 3% increase in the foundation aid. So Dr. Cinnamore and I recently met with a gentleman who's very knowledgeable on state aid. We expect to see hopefully a small increase in overall state aid, but we're optimistic that we'll at least see that guaranteed 3% in the foundation aid. So I realize I've thrown a lot of terms out there, a lot of different dollar figures and all, but it just gives hopefully the public an idea of how complicated this budget tends to be out of the gate. And when we try to pull all these numbers together and try to explain it to you, we'll try to do it in a way that's clear and understandable. And the last slide, just any questions, comments, or suggestions from the board?
Any questions, guys? All right, thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, can we call for a motion and a second to approve the first reading, waiving of the second reading, and immediate adoption of policies 6640 inventories, 6640.1 capital asset accounting, and 8130.2 workplace violence prevention. Any questions from the board?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh,
Motion.
motion. Second. Am I allowed to second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we have discussion items. Do we have anyone from the government here?
We have a first reading first.
Where's the first reading? Here. Ah, my bad. Sorry, hold on a second. Just seeing if you're awake out there. Can I have a call for a motion and a second to approve the first reading of the following policies? Policy 2382, broadcasting and taping of board meetings. Policy 4321, programs for students and disabilities, with disabilities. Policy 6710, purchasing authority. Does the board have any questions?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, you're up. Discussion items, we have student government update.
Hello, Happy New Year, back again. So student government will be working with multiple clubs for PSI Love You Day regarding suicide prevention, and that will take place for us February 9th. Different school districts do it different days. More specifically, Student Gov will be working with Anti-Bullying Club for a fundraiser selling flowers and teddy bears, so there will be deals for that. Student government and the student body are definitely looking forward to going into the second half and definitely getting midterms over with. That's about it for the beginning of the year. Thank you.
Sounds good, thank you. Up next, we have the superintendent update, Dr. Centimore.
Thank you, sir. I hope everyone had a nice holiday season and Happy New Year. Certainly good luck to our high school students on those pending midterm and Regents exams. I appreciate everyone's understanding with the canceling of after-school activities today. We also did some modifications with tonight's board meeting. We had a couple of advisors for our freshman awareness that we were going to honor. We'll be honoring them at the next meeting. And we're also, our directors, principals, and Ms. Poppy prepared a robust elementary academic presentation that will move to the February board meeting. We will be actively monitoring the weather throughout the evening and into the morning. Rain accumulations may present some delays to the morning bus pickup, so please allow for some additional time. And should you experience any challenges with accessing your bus stop, I posted the number, I put it out in school messenger to our transportation department. I'll say it out loud, 631-244-2200. And you could call this number as early as 5:30 in the morning, particularly, again, if there's any issues with, I know some of our areas, there could be some flooding and there could be some challenges with getting to the bus stop. Just please let our transportation department know. School will be closed on Monday as we honor Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, and obviously the nation honors his contributions to America's civil rights movement. Dr. King's work is a big part of both of our elementary and secondary curriculum. So on this day, let us reflect upon his legacy. He has many great speeches and quotes. As an educator, one that I particularly like is as follows: the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. I will put out a message Friday afternoon. So certainly enjoy the long holiday weekend. Alumni news. You may have heard that one of our recent graduates from 2000, Joseph Apiza, already a 3-time national cheerleading champion with the University of South Florida. In his first 3 years, mind you, and now attempting for their 4th straight this weekend in Orlando, has been named to the USA Cheers 2024 National Co-Ed Premier Team. He was one of 32 students selected to the team from colleges across the country. He will compete for the U.S. at the 2024 ICU World Cheerleading Championships in Orlando at the end of April. And what was extra neat about this is that he was quoted as saying, "As a proud Connect-Card alumni, I thank my school community for always supporting and helping me throughout the years." And of course, we are all so proud of him and wish him the very best of luck. So very cool news amongst many great accomplishments of our alumni out there. At the last board meeting, we had a request to kind of update the community on a bus situation. So I'm just going to quickly pass the baton to Mr. Hauser, if you can just provide an update on that matter that was raised several weeks back.
Thank you, Dr. Centimore. So I just want to start off by saying, number one, the district employs 9 bus mechanics who are, for the most part, experts in diesel engines as well as gasoline engines. So our fleet of school buses, large buses, minivans operate some with diesel engines and some with gasoline engines. As Dr. Centimore mentioned, either one meeting or maybe 2 meetings ago, we had a parent express some concern about a particular school bus that had what that parent deemed was excessive fumes, smoke coming out of the tailpipe of the bus. So what I'm about to give you an update is on one particular school bus that we were notified about. However, there were actually 2 parents who provided us with information. One of the parents was actually an RMS parent, and then subsequent, we received information from an OBMS parent on this one bus. So I'll give you just a synopsis of what happened. So back on October 3rd, Ms. Froberg, who's our Director of Transportation, was contacted by a RMS parent who came to the central office and advised that one of our school buses, bus number 330, was generating an excessive amount of rear tailpipe diesel exhaust fumes over a period of several days while on an RMS bus route, happened to be bus route 29. The parent also provided us with several pictures via email so that we had evidence of the actual smoke. Ms. Froberg forwarded the parent's email to our head bus mechanic, Mr. Henry Goldberg. Mr. Goldberg identified the school bus, which happened to be a model year of 2010, and Mr. Goldberg immediately took the bus out of service that same day. The school bus was subsequently inspected by our mechanics, and it was determined that the diesel oxidation catalyst, a DCO, needed to be cleaned, and a replacement DCO was also ordered. The part was cleaned, the bus was tested, and the bus was returned to service. However, when the bus was returned to service, it was placed on a high school and an OBMS bus route. So we're switching from RMS over to OBMS. I want everyone to know that this particular school bus had been inspected 4 days earlier by a New York State Department of Transportation inspector who came physically to our bus yard and into our bus mechanics yard to inspect the bus. The bus passed the inspection. I actually have the inspection report here. And it passed with no defects or violations, including no diesel emission violations. 4 days prior to this, the smoke incident being reported to us. So now subsequently, another parent, which is an OBMS parent, contacted the school, and in particular, Ms. Froberg, our Director of Transportation, to notify her that her child's particular school bus had smoke coming out of the tailpipe, and that she was concerned that the smoke may have gotten inside the bus. Once again, we took the bus back into the yard. We pulled the video and the audio tape from the interior of the bus. There's several of those tapes inside each of the school bus. And we noticed that there were no visual or no audio. No one in the bus was complaining. None of the students in the bus were complaining of the fumes, and we didn't see any of the fumes inside the bus. And neither did the bus driver advise us of anything inside. We also contacted the school nurse, and the school nurse advised that no students reported having any issues or symptoms from the bus fumes. So subsequent to this, the mechanics actually replaced that DCO part on the bus, and it was returned to service, and we have not had any issues on that particular bus. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hauser.
You're welcome.
All right, now we'll continue with my update. Holiday concerts had a resounding finish. I want to thank our students, music directors, Mr. Malafronte, for all their extensive efforts, and for also providing me with a little bit of an opportunity to participate in a couple of the concerts, which was very, very neat, and I'm very appreciative of that. Our students are just so talented across the board, but especially certainly with the music and the arts. I also want to thank our custodial team, because with all of those concerts, there was a lot of setting up and taking apart with the stages. So thank you. Another concert to come on January 26th, the secondary jazz night and Triumph benefit will take place at the high school. Looking forward to that. Speaking of talented students, the Ronkonkoma Middle School Soul Singers performed the opening act for the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall on December 30th. Mr. Hauser had time to put down the calculator and actually head out into the city. We actually gave him a little bit of downtime just before the new year, and he was there in person, and he is quoted as saying, "They were great," you know. I don't know if the Rockettes will invite them back because, people were saying maybe the Rockettes should open for our soul singers. But, thank you, Mr. House, for going. And thank you to our soul singers for, continuing to demonstrate the talent of our students and the pride of our community. Very, very cool. Continuing. A certain device was brought to the district's attention. I know Ms. Napolitano Ferno was one such individual with regards to a choking intervention device. It's called LifeVac. You might have seen it in the news. And so, several months ago, we actually honored a number of our staff who use the traditional Heimlich maneuver type methods to intervene and save students. Obviously, we're a district that is at the forefront of safety and first aid interventions, but you always look for ways to further enhance. So we started to do some homework on this LifeVac device. So we did find out that you can obtain one free device for each school. It is currently being utilized by emergency responders in Nassau County, but also several school districts right here in Suffolk County. Since these devices have not yet been FDA approved, there have been certain legal and insurance concerns about potential liability if they're used as the primary intervention in lieu of those formal methods such as I described before, like the Heimlich maneuver. For districts to obtain these devices, the key would have to be to use them as a life-saving last resort intervention following those approved methods, and then also look to maintain these devices in each school's nurse's office. To further address guidance received from legal and insurance, minimize liability, proper training, and the utilization protocols have to be put in place. Each school nurse will need to take the training on how to use the device. LifeVac provides this training, and then they issue a certificate upon completion. Our Student Services Department would then establish utilization protocols in collaboration with our school physician, Dr. Gill. These protocols would then be adopted by the district. So under those circumstances, including knowing that there are some local Suffolk County districts, Nassau first responders that utilize LifeVac, knowing that our Student Services Department, our Security Department would be comfortable, I support implementing these devices. And if there are no concerns, we'll look to move forward with the district.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, and all the extensive work that was done researching these devices by our security team and Ms. Pisani with our Student Services Department. So now that we're in 2024, we've certainly kicked it off with a lot of things. We have our high school curriculum fair, 8th, 9th grade curriculum fair tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the high school. We have the Ronkonkoma Middle School performance, Beauty and the Beast, the musical, this Thursday through Saturday, 7 o'clock each night. There's a Saturday matinee at 2, and there's going to be a character meet and greet. How cool is that? And then later, right around February 1st, OBMS, it's their turn to do a musical. They're doing Newsies. Rumor has it there may be a cameo appearance from someone at the dais up here. I won't say anything further. The Future Teachers of America Club over at the high school, they developed lesson plans on self-awareness and anti-bullying to support the Drug and Alcohol Task Force's mission to educate students early about coping strategies and healthy behaviors. The lessons will be delivered throughout January to all second grade students through their library media centers. Again, more examples of our older students being mentors and role models to our younger students. How much do we love that? So proud. Middle school late winter sports begin on January 16th. The high school has their local scholarship information meeting on January 25th and their FAFSA college financial aid completion event on the 29th. On January 30th, the High School Anti-Drug and Alcohol Task Force has coordinated a presentation by the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office on the dangers of fentanyl and drug use, 7 p.m. at the high school. Students grades 6 through 12 are encouraged to attend with their parents And for the younger kids, grades K through 5, they've set up paint and game night activities to help families, in terms of that child care type scenario. Really appreciate all the extensive effort with that. Really important. All the time, I try to throw accolades out to all of our community organizations, our civics, our athletic boosters, all the music boosters, and certainly our PTA. Our PTA has a big event coming up in February, late at the end of February. Tickets are now available. The Harlem Wizards are coming to town, and they're going to be competing against our own staff throughout all the schools. We have teachers, administrators, maybe some people sitting up here playing in the event. I started stretching about 2 months ago. So we already have about 40 staff members signed up to attend. How great is that? We appreciate their participation and looking forward to that. In terms of some academics, Algebra Region support, this winter the district will offer an after-school algebra skills additional learning opportunity for students who are enrolled in Algebra 2. These learning sessions will be funded using the ARP COVID-related monies that are designated for after-school programming. The sessions will be offered topically, and students will register for individual sessions in advance. We anticipate that the additional learning sessions will begin in late January and extend throughout the spring semester. Parents will be notified about this opportunity. Then later in the spring, we'll have Regents review sessions, and these will be offered across subject areas for all the Regents bearing courses. We appreciate the efforts of Ms. Poppy and our curriculum department with that. As well as at the end of January 31st, we have a K-5 math and literacy night. They're still coordinating the location, but we're looking forward to that event as well. Later in the spring, in terms of financial literacy, a ninth grade financial personal finance day is being planned. Looking forward to that event as well. Our transportation and business departments, they're looking at how to utilize some of the grant funding that the district receives with regards to those stop armed on the buses, those camera violations. And some of that money is going to be used towards putting signage on a van to help promote safety and make people aware that when you see the bus stop, the sign arm, the camera extends, the arm extends to stop. We all have to stop. We all have to stop for safety purpose. So we're looking forward to that signage and that good reminder. Certainly tonight, Mr. Hauser provided a brief overview as we begin the budget development workshops and the process. Earlier today, the governor gave the State of the State address. She incorporated some school-related items. As many of you know, in New York State, much gets legislated through the budgeting process. So, along with monitoring state aid projections, we will closely follow what other things develop through that process. Tomorrow, I'll look to put out a school messenger with regarding the December e-news, which kind of summarizes all the great events from the month of December. So please be on the lookout for that. Wishing everyone a wonderful, healthy, happy, and successful 2024. That was a robust, maybe not so succinct update, but I had a lot to talk about. Our kids and staff and community do such great things, and we're very proud.
Thank you, Dr. Centimore. Moving on to Board of Education topics. Start off with Ms. Napolitano-Perno, survey.
Survey is actually for two different things. One is going to be for, I would like to see a survey sent out to the upperclassmen, starting with middle school and high school. I'm looking for some sort of survey database to find out what students are having issues with in regards to tutoring, in regards to before COVID versus after COVID, in regards to what they would like to see as the students themselves. Would they like to see more extra help after school, before school? If they would like to see, I really want to hear their voices. And I want it to go out in a way that it actually gets to each child and not something that's 50 questions long, something that's simple. And, and if children don't want to do it, that's fine. They can opt out of it. But more so just for us to find out what can we do to add. I appreciate and am very thankful that you guys are adding the things that we have advocated for the last year. I've been saying that we are still loss of learning, still behind, and especially with the Algebra 2, I saw kids who were AP students doing terrible in the class, not for any other fault than because during COVID, they had missed out on the first portion of the Algebra 1. And it unfortunately all goes together. You miss one, you end up falling behind. So thank you for doing that. But I'd like to see more of a question and answer for these students to find out what exactly would they want to do. If you think a survey isn't a good way to do it, there's another way to do it. But I really want to hear what students from more so 7th to 12th grade are feeling in the way of tutoring, because I'm hearing that students from actually as early as 5th grade are needing tutoring, and more than ever before, like I said. And I just feel like there are families that just can't afford it. What can we do as a district to make sure that we're using our funds correctly and to hit each student and see where they need the help the most? Okay, that was the first piece. The second piece is, and I apologize, I have to use my cell phone because I left my iPad home, but I came right from work. So I want an audit of the services that are provided for over $4 million, almost $5 million for mental health. I want to know what other districts are doing with their mental health initiatives and their staff data. I want to know what an audit of human capital on what their responsibilities are and how many children are served in our district, especially with a declining enrollment, and we have over 100 mental health professionals throughout our district. I want a survey of other like-kind districts and see what they spend in regards to, as the superintendent has stated to myself and I'm sure others, that we have a robust mental health, whether it be initiatives and staffing, and we're going to talk about that later on in the board discussions. I want to make sure that we put together a cohesive data plan in regards to this, and I really want to see what it looks like versus other districts. The reason I say this is because we continue to receive emails from the CTA, which I'm just going to go down that because it ties in, Brian. So we have received another CTA email from the CTA president. I believe in truth and transparency. I do not understand why these emails that used to be posted on the CTA webpage on social media are not being posted. Probably because my name is in them throughout them and they're not as professional as some might think. So I want to read it to you in regards to what is being stated to us. Once again, a third communication on the subject. The Connecticut Teachers Association is reaching out to request that the district put together a task force of all stakeholders so that a discussion regarding how the district can best combat the mental health crisis in existence. Putting aside Mr. Napolitano-Furno's unhinged commentary at the recent Board of Education meeting on the subject, the CTA is hopeful that the grown-ups on the board can put their own agendas on the back burner and come together to address this serious issue. To be clear, Tony Felicio Jr. did not wake up one day and decide to write a letter about mental health crisis. It was after having several of my board members, teachers, and several mental health professionals voice their concerns to me, and having one come to our meeting on behalf of their colleagues crying out for help. Mr. Napolitano-Furno speaks of an agenda. It seems Mr. Napolitano's agenda doesn't line up with our mental health professionals, whose only agenda is to help our kids. The association waits to hear from the district regarding working together to combat this problem. What Mr. Felicio failed to realize is then we received emails that he sent to Mrs. Pisani, which I will not get into those, but I absolutely can speak of them. So what he has done in truth and transparency for all is he's now questioning our head mental health position in the district, who has the expertise that he does not have. And I think that that's really where it comes to. And it's very strange because the experts in Connecticut are the director of mental health and their staff, and they feel that their mental health advisory committee is doing an excellent job, and they've heard nothing from what I'm understanding. They've heard nothing from the teachers, the social workers. So I don't understand. What am I missing here? So Mr. Felicio will continue to send us these ridiculous emails, and our staff is not going to the director or to their their building heads to let them know that they need help supposedly. If they need help, why are they not coming out and telling anyone this? Why are we getting an email from the head teachers union president, but not hearing this from the boots on the ground? Can you answer that, Dr. Centimore?
Well, I do know that Ms. Pisani is readily available to assist any of the staff within her department, as well as be a resource to building administrators, certainly central office, and certainly the community at large. And so I do know that her door is always open to all, whether it be our teachers, support staff, parents, community, board, cabinet, you name it. So, and I do know that she is receptive to whatever concerns are out there. And I also have reached out to Mr. Felicio because we do want to promote collaboration. But I also, I want some further understanding. And, I certainly don't want to see anybody getting, belittled in any way. But I'm hoping that I'll have an opportunity to meet with him, hear the concerns, get an understanding of some of the requests, some of the differentiation for what we currently have in place, why there may be something wanted or needed beyond. You referenced our staffing. I do think this district, and I felt this way even before I got here, has made an incredible commitment to wellness, the wellness of our students, certainly our staff. We have EAP available for our staff, and in terms of our students, health and wellness, mental health, that's been at the forefront. We do have a great deal of funding invested into the staffing of psychologists, social workers, behavior interventionists, and certainly school counselors, which cross over. A lot of times these areas cross over into one another. And that's one of the things we are actively looking at. Mr. Colifa, Ms. Poppy, who helped oversee these various departments and those directors. These are the conversations, articulations that are currently happening to see. We have staff of various kinds in place. The last couple of years, we've added 4. Now we're posting for a 5th grant-funded position. How are we best maximizing the current staffing that we have and their responsibilities? Where might there be overlap? Where might there be opportunities to kind of shift the existing resources? This is on top of, a lot of the agency services in terms of community-based agencies and those partnerships, PM Pediatrics, yes, Family Service League, others. So I do know that, at the cabinet level and in collaboration with our directors, we're looking at this because this obviously ties into the budget development process. If we need to recommend over the coming months additional staffing in any of these areas, we certainly will not hesitate. But we also want to make sure we're maximizing efficiencies. As superintendent of schools, my door is open to everybody, all of our union/association presidents and officers. Collaboration is important. We're part of one big family and team, but also understanding, requests and needs and assessing, what we do have in place. This is all a big part of the equation.
Well, I must say, if anyone wants to know, it's 4.9 million, and it's increased steadily over the last 5 years that I've been on the board. Considering I've said yes to everything, but I will not say yes to adding a task force after we already have, as Mrs. Pisani said, I will stand with her and her expertise, a mental health. We already have a mental health committee. And I must tell you, I am truly concerned after reading these emails from the CTA president, how they are so unprofessional. And for somebody like myself, who for 24 years has literally dealt with mental aided patients and having to bring people, we call them EDPs, emotionally disturbed persons, to the hospital. That is my expertise of what I have had to do in my career. As I read his emails, all I think is mental aided. Because if you want people to work with you collaboratively, you have to do so in such a way as not to continue to make the emails about one specific board member. Although I am truly touched that the man has such an obsession, I must say.
I'd like to add something as a member of the Mental Health Advisory Council. It's my second year on there. First, right off the bat, I have to say Ms. Pisani is incredible. I have worked with her pretty closely. We did the Community Wellness Day together. And she is, not only is she just a wonderful person to work with, but she knows what she's doing. She's very good at her craft. And as far as these emails that we get from the CTA president, I'm going to go back to an email that he wrote to us in November. And he cited an article, and I do want to thank him for giving a little bit of a citation for the article. I was able to find the article that he cited. I was able to research for it and find it. And in his email, he states how children are falling through the cracks, and we're pushing, there's cases that are not so serious to the end of the line. They're becoming serious. And he wants to add another task force, and he claims that our staff is overwhelmed already. Well, if they're already overwhelmed, you want to add something else to it. You're spreading them very thin in doing that. And we have the Mental Health Advisory Council, which does do what he wants. And as far as him talking about, the students that don't need the immediate assistance, we actually do have something, our supports, our services, something through PM Pediatrics called AIR, Assessment, Intervention, Referral Program, which is for students not in immediate crisis, but who are in need of mental health counseling support outside of school. So we are actually addressing that. And through all of this that he talks about, that we need to make sure that our legislators are involved in this, we are getting grants. We are already doing that. And one of the biggest things he talks about is that 2% tax cap as a deterrent. Now, we have the board certified behavior analysts, we have psychologists, social workers, we have, I think I counted about 16, 17 psychologists, 13 guidance counselors, 15 social workers. We have these board certified behavior analysts, and their collective salary is just under 4.9 million. And he wants to pierce the cap for more. We have to really, really use what we have, and we have excellent services here. And, he talks a lot about what we need to do for students. And in the article that he referenced, which was from Education Week from October of 2023, and a psychiatrist that is in there, actually, Erickson Schroth, said, "We are social creatures. Research shows that social isolation, loneliness, and risk factors for poor mental health, poor physical health actually predict earlier deaths from all causes. As we know that social connection and community decrease is depressions and suicidality." And if I'm not mistaken, I saw him myself on September 8th, 2020, standing outside this very building with a megaphone screaming about not opening school. He didn't want our children to have that social connection. So while, we get these countless emails from him who he's not a resident, he's not even an employee. He doesn't pay taxes here, he doesn't work here, questioning our mental health experts on what they are doing when he himself actually did not support having our students in the best social situation for them at that time. He's all over the place. And, I'd like him to come here and explain to the community himself why he wants to pierce our 2% tax cap and put that burden on our taxpayers, because I do not think that is fair. He really wants to be involved. He's not even on the Mental Health Advisory Council to see what we do. Last year, our union vice president from last year came to one meeting, and that was it, and then he was gone. So, a lot of this seems more like a witch hunt for Jackie. It just, the intentions do not seem honorable to me at all.
To read off. So December 19th, I wrote back, I want to see what the PM Pediatric Crisis Team is doing, and also how many mental health professionals were hired the last 5 years while enrollment has been declining over the last 5 years. One must look at the data of students to mental health professionals ratio. I will never support piercing the cap without a reason that is quite substantial. We are asking a struggling community and some of those members to take on more of a tax burden to support Tony's newest agenda, which is quite evident. What I'd like to know also is why, and she's not here tonight, so I hate to bring it up, but I'm going to, and at the next board meeting, maybe she can answer it for me. We have parents who are reaching out to us countless times in the last 5 years that I've been on the board, and in order to answer them, we have to come to a board meeting, make a motion, resolution to answer emails. That's why people get upset that emails are not always answered. What I found interesting was the board president did state, as Marisol stated, Would the board, is anyone opposed to me drafting an email and showing the board before sending saying such? Yes, I am 100% against answering an email to a president of a union who is not sending their emails with it being innocent and they're not having bad motives. It's very ugly what's going on right now for those who actually are seeing through the fog. This is personal. It's a vendetta. There's a lot of nonsense. It's time to get back to education. It's time to get back to, this is an educational institution that we need to have mental health supports in place. But when we look to some of the more extreme cases, I believe last year, I was part of it this year, at the beginning of 2023, we looked into PM pediatrics and we okayed it. And that was because we wanted those extreme cases to have right there, have it at their fingertips. But the reality is, if it gets to a point that it's that bad, we need to work with the parents to have outside sources, which I have spoken to the superintendent about, that I believe there has to be that help on the outside. You have to have mental health crisis, whether it's a psychologist, a social worker, for your child or staff member outside of Connecticut. Connecticut is not a hospital. While yes, we should 100% look to do what we can, we have to be realist. And we have to put that kind of work in those extreme cases where they need to be, and then we support them. That's how it's supposed to be. We need to get back to education and get away from piercing caps for agendas. That's done. I'm an absolute no to that.
And actually, I'm glad you brought that up about the fact that we are an educational institution, because in his email, what he actually said was, as we ask our teachers to teach with more rigor, teach higher level thinking skills, introduce new programs in science and math, the district investing incredible amounts of money on remedial programs in reading and writing, all commendable and necessary components, which, yes, it's necessary. We are a school district. To a fine education. But unless we address seriously, not Band-Aids, the mental health crisis of our students now, the crisis that currently exists will continue to get worse. A large portion of our student body will not be successful. They will not be able to lead productive lives. Once they leave Connecticut, Connecticut will have failed him. Those are the words of our CTA union president. And of course, yes, we have those PM pediatrics. We've had these outside sources, but we're not a hospital. We are an academic institution. We are an educational facility. So yes, support our students, support our staff, do all that, but we have to do it in the right manner that is actually ethical. Our teachers are teachers. They are not all mental health professionals. And we have mental health professionals who are able to work on what is right, what is proper for our students, and what works. And they work with the Mental Health Advisory Council.
Thank you. I appreciate the transparency. I think that, the majority of us agree that another committee is not needed. So let's, get back to education and move on to the next topic here. I know we have.
Brian, I think what we were trying to pinpoint is that as board members, we shouldn't be concerned about answering a hostile, and he is hostile if you read his email.
No, I agree. And I think we're giving him too much time.
Right, but we shouldn't, but that's what the board president did when she asked us to answer an email to him.
Well, she
But
had that, but also let's be fair and let her
But she
respond to
hasn't
you in
answered.
public. No, let her respond to you in public.
I'll bring
It's
back
just
up that next
100%. It's just, I don't think it's fair.
But you
if she's
do
not here.
understand, I have the email in front of me.
I know, you just read it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if she wants to bring up that she wants to answer him, I'd like to know why she doesn't want to answer every parent who has sent an email and has had an
And
issue.
she can answer that when she's back, absolutely. Ms. DiLorenzo, you had mental health, but I think you just went through most of what we were just talking about.
I actually did.
You did? Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, you're up as well with BOE emails?
No, I'm
Oh, go back. Yep, sorry. Go back to
Budget Advisory Committee email.
Yeah.
I'd like to read. Somebody had sent this to me and asked that I read it. Thank you for lending me your computer. So, here we go. Yeah, that'll work. Well, it's easy. Okay, so this is a couple of people who were on the Budget Advisory Committee previously sent me emails. I'm glad that they did, to give me the history of it. So on this committee, they had accountants and actuary, those with a background in finance, taxpayers with and without children, and seniors on a fixed income. At best, maybe it started with 15 people. Round out, wean out process. Round one was a wean out process. Once it was established, there was very little room to make a significant impact on the budget. A large portion of the budget is salaries, operations, and programs. Some of the members of the committee were discouraged and didn't come back. Round two, those who stayed requested data, contracts, projections, enrollment. They were diligent and eager to make recommendations that were not based on emotion, but on thoughtful fiscal assessments. Round three, creating the charge. They gathered the information and had discussions based on several outcomes and impacts that had significant cost savings. The Board of Ed didn't take those recommendations then, nor will it possibly be happening in the future, because these considerations would be to outsource transportation, lunch program, cut staff, close a building, or perhaps two. These are the things that were actually offered on that Budget Advisory Committee. If you want people to sit on this committee that have the backgrounds to make cost-effective saving suggestions, would it even be respected, honored, and executed? Otherwise, it's a waste of time. This was written to me. And they're not wrong. So this is what was done. So the superintendent at the time, Dr. Adams, made the suggestion to the board to cut 30 positions. And it would have no impact on educational process as per what she was stating. The board wasn't willing at the time to entertain that, or I know I wasn't. She provided a flow chart and supporting data. The clincher was that in 2020, a week later, the pandemic hit. But the Board of Ed at the time has to be serious about saving taxpayer money. Maybe that can be revisited is in finding out what is cost effective. What can we do to save money? Maybe it's with positions, in the way of positions, through attrition, so that you're not hurting people who are working. Last year, the board did make a substantial decision in regards to giving a first eligibility to people to get some people to retire early so that they would be able to get their first eligibility, which is contractual. We allowed that again. I've been on the board five years, and for 2 of those 5 years, we voted yes to that, trying to help teachers and support staff through attrition. But the reality is, this is what somebody is saying, and they're writing very clearly. If the board is not going to entertain the Budget Advisory Committee's ideas, such as closing a school or bringing in BOCES program or cutting down admin, I mean, these are things that were supposedly on that Budget Advisory Committee, and I know you could answer that for me as well. But I would really love to see those emails. So I would like to request those Budget Advisory Committee emails from when that budget. I want to see what did they bring, because I'm curious. I have no issue, like I said, with having a Budget Advisory Committee, but as a board member, I want to make sure that we are going to actually take what they want into actually our decision-making process. Not right here where it says a lot of human capital was spent, and it could have been served in a different way through our business official at the time was Sharon. And the end result was none of the suggestions were taken.
We
So
can't
unless the Board of Ed
guarantee
is-
that, though,
No,
in any committee.
I'm letting you know, no, but I'm saying to you, but this is the problem. If not one is taken, then you are
Well, we
wasting
can't
a lot of
guarantee
capital.
that.
But the capital, here it is. So Miss Sharon Donnelly at the time sat with the budget committee, was the last one there. People were frustrated and knew there was some point, a waste of time. Sharon truly worked diligently on providing all the documents, data, contracts that these 3 or 4 people were requesting. She spent many hours of ConnectQuad human capital that could have been served better in other ways. What I'm saying is, we need to be serious. Are you willing to do these things that were asked? Are
Well,
you
I'm not willing
look
to do
into-
anything without looking
Well,
at the data
I'm asking
myself.
you. I'm
I am
asking
still
you.
not
Would you
going-
be able to cut 30 teachers? Would you be able to?
I
would you
don't
be
know,
able
because
to-
I have to see.
To cut a lunch staff?
Just
Would you be able
because-
to outsource transportation? I don't know that I could.
Listen, just
So if
because
you
we
think
don't
you
like
can, I'm
these
just saying.
things doesn't mean we shouldn't speak about them. And no one's
But
forcing
that's not,
anybody to be
that's
part of the
not the
committee.
issue. The issue
This is
you
our
can't-
job as a board.
But you can't keep allowing board members to not want to make the decisions that have to be made.
I don't think
because of
anybody
emotion.
allows any
Because of
board
emotion.
member. We all.
That's what I'm saying.
We all
That
vote
want it to
based
be
on
liked.
what is
There's a lot of
correct.
people on this dais that want to be liked. I don't care if I'm liked or not, as long as what I do is the right thing to do. It has to be the right thing to do because it's the right thing
Right,
to do. Not
it's okay to
because
speak for
it's,
yourself.
you know,
don't
the
have to
fans.
speak for others.
But like I said, it has to be the right thing to do.
Again, that's how you see it.
No, no,
I
it should
see
be,
it as that
you
if
should do the
people
right
wanna
thing because it's the right
volunteer
thing
and
to
be
do.
on, just
You shouldn't
because
do
you
because
join
you
a
want to make your
committee
fans happy.
doesn't mean
Because
that
that's
we
not
have to
truly
take
what's
your
right.
Guys, we're
idea
talking over each other.
and execute it. So I'm a part of many committees. Doesn't mean my idea is the one that's going to be taken.
Well, if none are
Come together
taken,
and you
the board doesn't respect the committee then. The
It's not
committee,
about that.
people are
We're
taking
all
time out
adults
of
and we
their
can
life.
comprehend that every decision is the correct decision for the district. The reason the budget's
This
together.
district has the least amount of students it has had in the last 10 years. Do you know?
Jackie, all I can
But
say
it has
is
the most
this
staff. You know
happens
that?
to be my first year on the board. This is your 5th year. If these are things that you've already looked at and
Okay,
have
so
decisions
that's
that
why
are
I'm
made,
asking them to get
no.
you
But we need to have a
Declining
budget
enrollment, upping
committee
staff. Declining enrollment, upping staff.
to discuss these things. Like these things should be
Yes,
discussed.
and that's why, but it's kind of funny. Like now you're willing to say, I have 5 years, then you will listen to me, but on
No,
email.
I'm not listening to you.
But
What I'm trying to say is you
on emails,
questioned
it's
that if-
hilarious because you're very clear,
You
April, when you
misunderstood me.
state.
You misunderstood
You
me.
very clearly stated, oh, Jackie, let's talk to Mr. Felicio.
I do
Let's
agree with that.
entertain his.
I do agree
think we
with
should all play
collaborating.
nice.
I do
What are we
agree.
playing nice with?
No,
You're gonna do a 2% tax? Pierce
Jackie,
the
just
cap?
because we
You
don't
wanna pierce
agree,
the cap? I don't wanna pierce the
for us
cap.
to have two different opinions.
April, you would
What I
pierce the
meant
cap
by
if
the-
Tony told you to
Oh
pierce
my
the cap.
goodness, please
You
don't
would pierce the
speak for
cap
me
if
or
Tony
any
told
of
you
the
to
other
pierce the
board
cap.
members. We have to speak for only ourselves.
And unfortunately, you don't speak truthful.
That's your opinion.
April,
I'm not here
did
for
you
tit
refuse
tat.
to take a picture in front of the American flag?
I refuse to give in to
Where are we
someone
going
who
with
is
this?
bullying.
Where are we going
What's
with this?
bullying? Did you take a picture in front of the American flag?
There was a-
Or did you
a
take
board
an
member
anti-American
bullying
picture in
and
front of
screaming on
a
the top of
tree?
her
April,
lungs at
Jackie.
herself. And
Guys.
Brian, I want the truth to be out there. Too
I know,
many
but we were talking about a different topic.
Okay, we're now talking about anti-American April.
I agree with you, Brian. I'll stop.
So anti-American April decided that as a board member, she was going to stand in front of a tree outside while the rest of the board, and yes, I did make it clear that I am not anti-American by no means. And every board member who was here at the time went running in front of the American flag because you know what? It was the right thing to do. It's the right picture. It's what we're supposed to do. We were elected by the people. We weren't elected by the trees outside. We were elected by the people. You wanted pictures in front of a tree. I felt that everyone else was doing the right thing and taking pictures in front of the American flag. Call it anything you want. You call everything bullying. I call you anti-American.
But thank you. Let's move on. The next topic is BOE emails. Ms. DiLorenzo?
I just wanted to, just to be fully transparent with the community, that we had, I think it was the last meeting that we had talked about the fact that April had brought up the idea of us all having access to the Board of Education email. And I was against that. I have faith in administration, Jesse, to forward us what is necessary. And after, receiving, I don't know if it was a week or so of these emails, and it was spam, buy this, get a deal on this. I said, you got to be kidding me. We're trying to run a district. And bless you, Jesse, for weeding through that, because that's, it's kind of crazy, but that is what she does. So weed through this and to send us what is relevant. And I said, I have to focus on the important things. I pulled myself out of that. So I just, in interest of being fully transparent with the community, I am no longer receiving those emails. Just through my regular, JD Lorenzo at ccsdli.org. That's my email. No, I'll get it forwarded from Jesse, but I am not in the inbox for the Board of Education email.
And I too requested the same thing. I trust administration enough and I trust the district clerk explicitly that she'll send us what is supposed to go to us. I am not going to micromanage her like some other board members, and I'm certainly not going to say, I want, spam emails sent to me. As it is, we get hundreds of emails. It's important for us to read the ones that actually apply to the Board of Education. Anyone who needs my email, it's jnapolitano-ferno@ccsdli.org.
Thank you. Board of Education questions. Ms. Napolitano-Ferno?
Every year, and I know, Bob, these are gonna sound monogamous because I constantly say them every year, I bring these to the forefront. I'm gonna ask these questions again. Unfortunately, I have been very disappointed and disheartened this year that this board has not even discussed, not once, board goals. Board goals are an important part of being on a school board. We should be discussing them. We last year had to hold off because our superintendent was leaving, and you would not be doing a mission statement as I had asked a year and a half ago for, and was told you wait till you have a new super. So here are my questions. I hope in the future that our board gets some leadership and we actually do discuss board goals, because that's what we're actually here to do. We're not here to, try to make people happier here or there or work to your audience. We're supposed to be looking at board goals, the mission statement. What can we do for the educational process to help? Are we using the staff that we have effectively and efficiently? We can't just add, assistant to the assistant to the assistant. And the more I look at the budget, the more that's what I see. So my questions are, I'd like to find out well, I already know who this is, but for the rest of the board members, what entity we use for our claims auditor for the next meeting. What are the core values of our district? This board has not even spoken once since July 1 about the core values or board goals. Disgusting. When was the last time we looked at our district's core values, which lead to the vision of our district, which leads to our mission statement? Our mission statement needs to be looked at. It's extremely old. It's not new. It hasn't been changed in years. What drives state aid? Are we getting the most we can? Does actual spending practices align with our stated goals? Is this district using its resources equitably across the schools? I've been fighting since I got on the school board, and I know, Bob, it was before you even got here, for equity across district. It's the words I've used since I got on. I believe every school should be equitable and equal in what we're doing at each one. Equity across, resources should be equitable across the district. Are there areas where over or underspending can be identified and reallocations be made? These are things that I'd like. I mean, I'll give you some saying, I understand that we're in the budget season, but these I ask every budget season. I think it's important. I think we have to be realist here. 70% of our budget, over 70%, is salaries. So we need to make sure that we're not adding positions that we don't need. We need to make sure that while enrollment is declining, we aren't just adding just to add.
I'd like to just add another question to that. If you could have that, maybe you have that number now, but about how much is in our reserves that we have left over. I don't know if you have that number now, but I would like that number as well.
I can get that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Next topic, holiday spirit. Ms. DiLorenzo.
I just wanted to add to a little bit of what Dr. Senimore said about our Christmas concerts, which were just, our holiday concerts were amazing. And it was very exciting to see Dr. Senimore conduct the Hallelujah Chorus. I have to bring that up because as an alumni that I was very much involved in the music department, and we did the Hallelujah Chorus every year. It is such a special part of being a part of the chorus. I loved that every year, and the alumni would come up. And it was really, really wonderful to see Dr. Senimore a part of that tradition that we do every year. It's very special. And I do want to say that we did have a wonderful time going around, so I wanted to thank you for inviting the board the Friday before Christmas to go spread some holiday cheer to the schools. That really, really was amazing. The entire board went, and we had a great time, had a fake snowball fight in the hallway. That was actually really kind of fun. It was, so it was really, really great to see, and all the schools, everything that they do. We had our principals playing Elf on the Roof, which was, the kids loved it.
I love it. I support it 100%.
It was fantastic. I knew, I had a feeling he was going to do it this year, Mr. Shannon, and it was great. The kids were beyond thrilled. And it was just fantastic. So I want to thank our staff and our students and everybody who was involved in making this a really, another fantastic holiday season at Connecticut. So thank you all for all of your work. It really was wonderful.
I just want to add to that because I know you put it on. We had gone to a couple of the shows together, and it was amazing to see also at the end of the concert for the last one, where they did bring up all of the alumni as well as Dr. Sensimore. And it was awesome to see Mr. Johnson up there, Mr. Malfonte, all of the teachers, all of the music teachers got up there. And it was just awesome. It was awesome to see all of the alumni that came right out of the stands to go, to seating to go up there. It was great. And I have to also say, which was really nice, is I believe it was it the OBMS or the RMS? One of the schools called, no, it was one of the elementary schools. It was Sycamore, I think, called up the kids that was singing the same thing at the high school.
It was OBMS.
Okay, so OBMS, I'm sorry, because there was so many we saw. OBMS actually did something really cool too. The music teacher, the chorus teacher, called up the high school students that were singing the same song at their concert to help the other kids. It was awesome. And that was really, you could tell just on the fly. So it was really nice what they did. Beautiful job. Loved I know that we had a meeting, but I loved the drive-through at the high school. Loved going to all the schools. And next year, loved that April dressed as a reindeer. That was cool. I have to say, next year, they're dressing as Santa and Mrs. Claus. I don't care what they say. And we are going to dress as a bunch of elves. And I 100% support them sitting on the roof. And I will gladly sit up there with them as an elf junior. And we'll just make sure we put some straps on or something. Who cares? I mean, honestly, you did awesome, Sycamore. And you know what? So did Cherokee last year. Good job. Make the kids smile.
So let me thank the Board of Education. As you did at the beginning of the school year, the board joined me in making the rounds, which takes about a day to make the rounds to 10 schools. I was wondering why my legs were throbbing at the end of the day. It's quite the workout, but I do know from the reaction of the kids, all ages, staff, all buildings, how much they appreciate that investment from the Board of Education, how much the superintendent of schools, I do, sends a big message, whether it's opening day, whether it's right before the holidays. It sends a huge message. I'm very appreciative. I know they are. Like I said earlier, the kids are incredibly talented. They were very nice about me participating. At the end, they said, "Great job, Dr. C, but don't quit your day job." Which of course I'll heed that advice. But a lot of great points, and our staff do participate in a lot of these activities, along with our alumni. Again, our alumni, amazing alumni, and amazing staff and talented kids.
Thank you, Dr. C. Moving on to the public comments section. I will now open the floor for the first public comment portion of the agenda. This public comment period is for consent agenda items only. An additional public comment period will be held later in the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience has questions regarding the consent agenda? No. All right. So next up, we have recommended action, financial matters. Call for a motion and a second to approve the financial matters, items 2 through 8. Are there any questions from the board?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Recommended action, personnel matters, instructional and non-instructional. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented?
This is with the removal of the custodial 2 position, correct?
Correct.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda. Can I get a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 15?
Motion.
Second.
Oh, I have a question.
Go for it.
Up number 14. So I'm hearing through the grapevine, I don't know if this is true or not, but that trip, are we limiting the amount of students that can go?
That's regarding the OBMS eighth grade.
No,
RMS
14.
No.
RMS
14 is
National
RMS.
Junior Honor Society.
I'm
trip.
being told that some believe, and I don't know what that, because I haven't looked into it, I only just heard this like an hour before getting here, was that, so I apologize for the last minute, but I had heard that the amount of students that potentially could go would mean that there would need to be a second bus. And so not all students will be allowed to go. Is that something that we know?
That hasn't come my way yet. I have an approximation of a number of students who will attend. That's part of our request form. But I don't have information about an overflow and a need for,
Well, I want to put it on the
I
record.
can certainly look into that.
I want to put it on the record for all of these trips, whether it's the OBMS end of year trip number 13 or RMS trip. All students that want to and can afford to go, and parents will allow them to go, should be allotted the opportunity to go. If that means a second bus needs to be gotten, or the board has to allot some money to help, or whatever we need to do, we should be looking into that. I definitely don't want to hear that 10 or 15 students couldn't go. And like, how are we even picking the students that can go then? Whoever gets it in first?
Has this been an issue in the past?
Not to my knowledge, and I truly haven't heard about this to date. So I only have the information that was presented to me for the approval of the trip, with a student count of about 56 and an adult count of 5.
And how many students fit on a bus?
So I believe that they're taking a coach bus. And so I'm not sure whether there's been controversy about the number of students that are attending, and I will definitely get down to the bottom of that. Thank you for the information.
Because if there's 55 and there's 50 kids, 56 students, there's also got to be the chaperones on the bus.
Correct,
So
51 total.
no matter what, you would have, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
You would have to get 2 buses.
we will look into it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we can provide an update to the board as soon as possible, and certainly, Ms. Poppy, in 2 weeks, and we could just update the community on that question. Thanks.
So can I get a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 15? All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment section. I will now open the floor for the open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a numbered card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board vice president only. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. The use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend that time. So number 1. Come on down.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Howard, and I just first want to say thank you to the Board of Ed for volunteering your time, as always, especially during weather like this, coming down and representing our district. And I want to thank Dr. Centimore. I just want to say that you've been present at so many events. I've seen you everywhere, and it's much appreciated. Even during playoff season at my school district where I work in Three Village, I saw you at the volleyball playoff game. So it's great to see you at all of our events. I've lived in the district for about a decade now, and I'm part of the PTA at Cherokee for the past 9 years, and also at RMS the past few years. I want to bring to the attention of the GPA for, instead of it being 70, to have it be 65. I, like I said, teach in Three Village for the past 21 years, and I'm representing all of our students here at Connecticut because I teach all differently abled students from K through 12. So I teach levels, regent levels at the high school, and I've taught adapted students down to, the elementary primary levels as well. And I want to bring this back to the table. It has been brought up before, because I just think of how our regents, that it's 65 to have a passing grade for our regents. And I know many districts in Long Island, where I grew up in Bethpage, we were 65. A lot of people that I talk to, it's always 65 GPA. So we could do like maybe more research to see what districts still do have a 70 and which ones have a 65. I really feel like we should be consistent with New York State requirements and other Long Island districts. I do feel that we have some missed opportunities for some of our students that, are failing below that 70 mark and, but achieving the 65 to the 69. I feel that some students that are maybe not great test takers and have an IEP or a 504 plan, that, some classes that are weighted higher, like 90% for exams and quizzes, that they really don't have a shot of passing that class because their homework or classwork doesn't contain a lot of that, weight in their grade. I feel like those 5 points would definitely have the ability to improve their self-esteem and their mental health, because a lot of times some children might feel like failures because of that. I just want to wrap it up as well as if they happen to not have that one class or so not be able to pass, that they might not be able to make an honor roll or such as well. I would like to be of assistance if you need. I've been on many committees in my district to create a Google survey form for the district to kind of take a vote and see who would agree if they would like the GPA to be 65 instead of 70. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howard.
So last year, I believe it was, I brought up, Mrs. Howard, last year I brought up bringing the grade level down to a 65. I did that because there were many students who had fallen in between the 65 and 69. And there were, I want to say it was Junior Honor Society or something that they weren't able to get into. I recall that it really it didn't go anywhere, and I wish it did. I do remember bringing it up and people telling me why it had been risen. And I have to say that the community themselves weren't, I remember going on social media and seeing people say, Jackie's only fighting for this because her children have 65. I was like, really? No, not even close. I said, it's really for everyone's child who maybe it just, like you said, isn't a good test taker. Maybe they just are having a bad school year. Maybe their home life is an issue. Whatever the case may be, I would support doing something like that, a survey. But to be perfectly honest, I would just like to know why the history, again, of us bringing it up to a 70 when, if there are districts on Long Island that are at a 65, especially Three Village and other ones. Yeah, I don't understand.
I agree with Jackie. I'd like to understand that myself and look into that.
I can look into it further. Unfortunately, I don't know the genesis of that mark of the improved passing average. And just to clarify your point, Ms. Howard, you're talking about raising the passing score for a particular course, right? Or lowering it from a 70 to a 65. So at some point in our history, that number was considered as a 70. It has remained immovable. We have had administrative discussions over the years. Those discussions were renewed last year to talk about the importance of making a change so that we are relative to districts around us, to the point that you shared and to the point that was just discussed, 65 is the passing mark that New York State uses. My understanding is that we were raised to a 70 in order to improve the rigor, or to present as a more rigorous requirement for students passing. And that's the only kind of evidence that I've been able to unearth in asking people. But I can continue the conversation. We can certainly bring it up during the curriculum committee in the future,
Well,
and
what
maybe
would
use
we
that
need to
body.
do? What would we need to do, or what could we do as a board to have that number lowered? Would a resolution be made? Could it be?
I believe it's in policy. I believe it's in policy. We can take another look,
Me and
and
April
we can
policy.
find out what the next steps would be.
Then pull the policy for me in April, please, and let's look into it. We could even look into, if the board supports it, the truth of the matter is, if a student's gonna get a 70 or above, they're gonna get a 70 or above. It's really for the students that it's hindering them, a 65 to a 70, to be on some certain sports, to be in a junior honor society. I mean, I literally just had a parent reach out to me, I want to say a month ago, about, I had no idea that with junior honor societies, some of them, if your student has, and I reached out to you, I believe, if a student even gets a detention, it could prevent you from getting into, and again, while I believe in discipline, I also believe that there are times that someone makes a poor choice, doesn't make them a bad person, and that meaning we should be looking at all sides.
So I like the idea of vetting this through the curriculum committee. Ms. Poppy, giving you a little opportunity to kind of survey, our neighbors. I do know that the 70 mark was probably more prevalent over a decade or
Probably during AP.
and obviously 65 is kind of the state standard. I know they're looking at making changes with regions and other options, but I like this idea of vetting this through curriculum, seeing what our neighbors are doing, and then also taking those recommendations to the board as you review the policy component of it.
Another thing I wanted to just piggyback with is, and this is sort of relevant to that, is I think, and I can't be totally sure, that the requirements for Junior Honor Society and RMS are different from OBMS. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know, just as a separate thing, I think that it's, I don't know why I'm hearing that there's different with the grades, and it really should be the same in both schools, but I've
Can you
heard that
pull
they're
that for us
different.
for the next meeting?
Yes, so we encountered this last year, and I think that concessions were made in order to make them more equal, make the requirements more equal. I can double back, I can pull that forward and get the
Absolutely.
information for you.
Considering they're both gonna go into the same high school, and we keep saying about equity across districts, let's make sure that even things like that are equitable.
Number 2.
Hi, there we go. I'm very numbers oriented. I don't have a mortgage, so I pay my taxes myself. And through the year, I try to, before my tax bill comes, I try and give it a little bit of a forecast of what I think I'm going to be spending and where I'm going to pull this money from. So this year, I went out on a limb and I said, okay, I'm going to be 3% higher than last year. My bill came in 5% higher than last year. But the thing that threw off the works was that my school tax bill, which we talked about at about 1.99, 1.97, came in at 2.99. So I'm trying to figure out, how does what's supposed to happen at 1.99 come at 2.99? Is it something relative to me, or is it something that happens when all the numbers get computed up and then roll back out, spread back out?
So you bring up a great issue, I'll say, and
Well, I could.
I'll try to clarify it. So Last year, and really the last 2 years, when we do the budget presentations, I try to include a slide in that, or one particular page in the PowerPoint that shows, and I think, Ed, you may have suggested this, where I include 4 scenarios, four typical homes that are assessed at certain values in the community. And I give the best guess as to what the school taxes will be for that particular home assessed at that value when the budget is finalized. In all 4 of the cases, and even the budget as a whole, that the tax rate should be the same, okay? It just depends on the assessed valuation of a home, which can go up, can go down. That's out of the school district's control. If someone does an improvement to their home, that could change the assessed value. If someone qualifies for a new exemption, that could change the assessed value if they lose an exemption. So there are certain variables in there, but all things remaining the same. For the most part, your tax rate on your home, I would like to say, should be where we said it would come in at. You give or take a little bit in there. So I'd have to go, I don't have it with me right now, what the exact tax rate was set at when we told the assessor and the receiver of taxes back in October. But if you don't mind, you and I can talk about it as it relates to your specific home. But we shouldn't be that far off. Like a percentage to me is far off.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, I'm always willing to go 10 basis points left or right, and I'll bring past tax bills, but I don't think there's anything. 8 years ago, 7 years ago, they allowed the Connecticut School District to become a taxing municipality that would allow a veterans exemption, and I get the largest veterans exemption for being a combat zone veteran. And that also happened to be the year that I hit enhanced star. So I saw a big decrease. And since then, I don't think anything's changed. I don't think my house has changed. I haven't done any improvements that would necessitate a higher number. But I'm going to just put out some bills and send you a quick email.
Yep.
And I'm just going to show you what that tax rate jumped at, because an extra 1%, it's going to be across the board. It's going to be high for a lot of people.
Sure. And that's in it. And you just highlighted another great feature, which is, I use that word loosely, feature, is the total tax bill that I think you said 5%.
Right.
Increase. We have no control over the town, the police, the fire district, the water, whatever.
I'm looking at all the ups and downs, but when I actually do the math myself from last year to this year, I was up just about 5%. And I thought that was a little high. And when I looked at the school district being up 1% more than I expected, 1% on the school district is probably going to be a big number for a lot of people.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I think that's the last card. Does anybody else in the audience have any questions? Comments? All right. Can I get a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks for coming out in this miserable weather and get home safe.